Guided by the stars they came, round the Horn to the ocean they called Pacific. Magellan, Cabrillo, Humboldt, and 100 others from Drake to Cook, sailing beneath the Southern Cross, setting their course by constellations which pointed the way beyond the known horizon. These are the seas that knew their ships. This water bore the explorer, the adventurer. And here they found new realms, their course charted only by the stars. Today, those same stars of the southern sky are the new frontier. And it is the men who reach into the depths of space who are the new explorers. It is from here, high in the Andes of Chile, that they make their search into the unknown. There have long been important observatories beneath the southern skies, but not in the best locations, and not always with the most modern instruments. Yet for generations, astronomical science has known that many of the most tantalizing secrets of our universe lay here, in skies beyond the reach of telescopes in the north. Now it is within the grasp of science to reach deep into this other half of the universe.
Okay, there you have it. Okay.
Okay, number 167, right?
No.
Yeah.
For years, the very place where these phenomena could best be studied remained untouched by the world of modern astronomy. For the very elements that made this the prime location for astronomical study were also barriers. Barriers sealing this region off from the outside world. The soaring Andes have the atmospheric stability necessary for good observation, but the rugged heights are themselves a formidable obstacle. Skirting the Andes is a barren desert, the Atacama. In places, no rain has ever been recorded. Virtually cloudless skies, vital for the astronomer's work. To the west, the Pacific, with its cold Humboldt Current and a permanent atmospheric high-pressure area that helps stabilize the weather and gives the mountains their clear night skies. Perhaps it is those very barriers of nature, cutting off their nation from the rest of the continent, which have shaped the people of this land.
La fuerza da la luna.
Exploration and the challenge of new frontiers is a part of their heritage, and that heritage has molded a society as diverse as any on Earth. In a land stretching from Peru to Antarctica are a people who combine the strains of both Indian and European cultures. Chile's Nobel Prize-winning poet Gabriela Mistral was inspired to write, "The stars, with a sweetness that is human, are beginning to come out. The sky full of stars becomes human and understands the sorrows of this world." The ancient science of the stars does not come to Chile as a new discipline. The nation's first observatory, built in 1849, is gone now. But here on San Cristobal, in the heart of Santiago, stands a pioneer telescope still in use. Other artifacts, too, testify to this nation's pioneer studies of the skies. Old clocks at Cerro Calan Astronomical Observatory have marked almost a century of work in the science. During the first years of this century, the director of Chile's National Observatory was Friedrich Wilhelm Ristenpart, whose historic charts of the southern skies are renowned among present-day astronomers for their beauty, accuracy, and detail. Though many of Chile's telescopes are old, they are maintained in perfect condition, for Chilean astronomers have found ingenious ways to adapt them to contemporary studies. At Cerro Calan are timekeeping devices second to none on the continent. Linking modern technology to older instruments has helped to maintain the country's solid reputation in astronomy. But to take man's vision and his mind into the distant reaches of the sky, the astronomers of Chile knew it would be necessary to build larger telescopes. And they knew, too, that those instruments would probably be located far from the pleasant surroundings of Cerro Calan on the outskirts of Santiago. It would be necessary to go into the Andes. The undertaking would be enormous. Clearly, it called for an international effort. Men had challenged this terrain before. Many died here. In those days of the conquistadores, the purpose was conquest, and the dream was of gold. But these men ride toward a different goal. Not riches, not fame, merely a piece of land, a special piece of land, meeting those precise requirements of a site for one of the world's great observatories. Some of the site survey party is Chilean, hand-picked men who know the mountains well. Others are from the United States. They represent the Association of Universities for Research in Astronomy, AURA. AURA it is called. AURA plans to bring into Chile equipment and know-how. What they plan to take out is knowledge. Knowledge of the universe. Knowledge to be shared with all nations, with all people.
Talk with him. Gabriel, talk with him. Yo no llegué, sino que nací aquí. Pues.
nació acá.
Claro.
Llegó, pues, de alguna manera.
Bueno, póngale que llegar entonces. ¿Cómo le dicen? ¿La cigüeña, no dicen alguno?
La cigüeña no fue así.
El punto 36 ese, ¿no?
Sí, el estaba 26.
Ya.
For 3 years, they searched and tested. The quest covered 600 miles, from Santiago north to Copiapó.
Ya.
9 major peaks were investigated and checked for air stability, wind, temperature, humidity, for lack of haze and clouds and dust.
Cuéntame una cosa, ¿en qué año llegó usted por acá?
In 1962, 60 miles from the town of La Serena, the search ended at a peak rising above the Elqui Valley and called Cerro Tololo. Here, AURA decided is the best site in all of Chile for a great observatory. From the summit, the mists and fog and clouds of the coastal plain lie far below. The air is still, the skies transparent. Here is where the observatory would rise. December 15, 1961, the first shipload of equipment arrives from the United States. In the months and years to follow, thousands of tons of material would move across these wharves. From heavy-duty bulldozers to delicate optical instruments, the material to build and equip the first major observatory in South America. Until now, 90% of modern observatory equipment has been located in the northern hemisphere, and 9 out of 10 astronomers, too, have been based in the north. The arrival of the ships at the port of Coquimbo symbolizes the beginning of a new era of astronomy. The job of cutting a road 40 kilometers into the Andes is itself a massive undertaking. Meanwhile, at the town of La Serena, headquarters for the observatory are being built. Here would be executive offices, computer rooms, a research library, all the support facilities for the scientific work that would be performed at the telescopes of Cerro Tololo. Slowly, the observatory began to take shape in forms of concrete and steel. If the technology came from the north, the skill came from the south. And personal ties were formed. The workmen of Chile took no less pride in what was being accomplished here than the engineers and technicians from the U.S. As the buildings on the mountaintop grew, the excitement of the scientists grew with them, to the extent that at least one astronomer did not wait for a dome to be built around a telescope. He began his observations in the open. Impatience here is understandable, for every astronomer knows that above him lie discoveries, knows that he may add to man's understanding of the universe. The Cerro Tololo Inter-American Observatory, a place where the scientists of many countries can solve mysteries of the southern skies. On Monday, November 6, 1967, it was dedicated by the President of Chile. Now the serious work of observation could officially begin. The Cerro Tololo Inter-American Observatory is superbly equipped. The 24-inch Curtis Schmidt telescope can survey a broad swath of the sky, so entire galaxies and star systems can be studied in a single photograph.
All right.
For a closer look at celestial phenomena, a 60-inch telescope built to study those objects that can only be found in the southern skies.
Okay. ¿Está bien? Muy bien. Okay, let's go to the next one. That'll be 170.
The telescopes at Cerro Tololo are equipped with an online computer system. In simple terms, that means that a program punched on tape can be fed into a computer. The computer then communicates with an astronomer and his assistant through a teletype. The computer performs a variety of tasks with the telescope, making observations faster, more efficiently, with more precision, and in the long run, more economically than an astronomer could working alone. At the end of the night's work, the computer's data is taken back to observatory headquarters, where it's studied and analyzed by another computer.
You want to do more scans or not? Yes, please. Scan parameter change or not? No.
Modern astronomy, for all its sophisticated equipment, complex hardware, and computerized gear, is still a very personal science. For these men live with the constant feeling of going beyond the frontier, of searching unknown territory. Their eyes may see things man has never seen before. This is the new frontier, spread directly overhead, the Milky Way. This is our own galaxy, of which the solar system is merely an insignificant part, and our sun but a speck. Only from here, in the southern hemisphere, can we look directly through the constellation Sagittarius and probe toward the galactic center. From here, one may sense where man is in the universe and study details of the most majestic building blocks in nature, the galaxies. Globular star clusters. Within them are the oldest stars, ancient remnants that hold clues to the history of our galaxy and how it evolved. The Tarantula Nebula, a cloud of gas over 500 light years broad, yet perhaps only 100,000 years old, a mere moment as galactic time is measured. Here in these gases that glow much brighter than our sun, and in the Carina Nebula are found the youngest stars, stars so new that some are still in the process of being born. Alpha Centauri, our nearest neighboring star, a little more than 4 light years away. Much closer still, the planets. Mars, for example, is directly overhead to observers in the southern hemisphere when it passes closest to the Earth. Beyond our Milky Way, the nearest galaxies to our own, the Magellanic Clouds. Within these vast systems of stars lie the answers to many puzzles of our own galaxy. What's more, each has unique features which are still not fully explained. Each night on Cerro Tololo, men from two hemispheres search the sky together. Their bond, the challenge of science. The working international partnership of the Inter-American Observatory has encouraged other nations to come to Chile too. Following the lead set by the astronomers of Cerro Tololo, 6 European nations banded together to build an observatory in Chile. Using the site surveys made by Aura, they selected a peak to the north, La Silla. Here, in 1969, they opened their European Southern Observatory, supported by the governments of Belgium, France, West Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Denmark. To the south, on another peak surveyed by the Aura field team, an observatory has been built under a joint agreement between the Soviet Union and Chile. Here, on the summit of Cerro Robles, is the 39-inch Maksutov telescope. The University of Chile donated the site and construction. The Academy of Science of the USSR furnished the telescope. Since 1967, it has been jointly operated by Russian and Chilean astronomers. Still in the future, the Carnegie Southern Observatory, to rise here on a northern mountain called La Campagna, and funded by the Carnegie Foundation of the U.S. Chile's new position in today's international world of astronomy is impressive. Tomorrow promises even more. Symbolic of the faith in that future is this gigantic new structure on Cerro Tololo, a dome to house the largest telescope in South America. June 25th, 1969, Toledo, Ohio. Here, the heart of the new telescope is given birth. From this fiery crucible comes the material for the telescope mirror. "16 tons of molten glass, which will cool and fuse into a solid disc. It will one day reflect the skies over Cerro Tololo. "1,500 miles it's carried from the American Midwest to the desert of Arizona. Here at the Tucson headquarters of Kitt Peak National Observatory, the fused glass will be painstakingly ground and polished into a mirror. The work of grinding and polishing is precise, so precise that the mirror's surface must be perfect to within a tolerance of 1/1,000,000th of an inch. So exacting is this process that it will take at least 2 years before the mirror meets the standards of these opticians at the U.S. National Observatory. Meanwhile, in the far northwest corner of the United States, the body of the telescope is taking shape. In the state of Washington, engineers and technicians work on the monstrous bulk of the instrument. It is almost finished now. It stands silent, empty, waiting. When the 158-inch telescope is installed here, this project alone will have cost $10 million, half contributed by the Ford Foundation, the other half paid by the National Science Foundation in the United States. But it represents much more than a $10 million investment, more than the years of planning and work. When the Great Dome opens and the largest telescope on the continent focuses on the skies above Cerro Tololo, it will mark the beginning of a whole new chapter in the history of astronomy. What that future will bring, what it will mean to science, is still unknown. But this much is certain. The adventure will be shared by tomorrow's astronomers, students who today are gathering knowledge acquired from the past to prepare for that future.
MR rho partido por R cuadrado de R. La segunda ecuación es la que se refiere a la conservación, por así decirlo, de la masa.
These boys and girls have been traveling since dawn on the long trip from their school to Cerro Tololo. On this day, they will see a telescope for the first time. They will talk with astronomers. They will learn something of the forces that lie above us. Perhaps among them will be those who will be inspired to search further, perhaps even to build a telescope of their own. That's what a group of students have done at the Seminario Conciliar at La Serena. With the aid of a physics professor, 22 young men of the Seminario have formed an astronomy club. On the roof of their school, they have built their own tiny observatory. Tololito, they call it, Little Tololo, in honor of the Aura Observatory 60 miles away. Their telescope was built with a rare combination of spare parts, ingenuity, and determination.
De 12 horas, 24 minutos, así que ubican. Menos 62 grados y 49 minutos. Ya, hace girar un poco el telescopio y mantiene la caja de motor lista.
Like the explorers of another age who crossed frontiers to discover this land, these young explorers are compelled by curiosity and imagination. Perhaps in them we may perceive the future. For it is in the destiny of man to explore, to learn, to discover. In the vanguard of discovery are those who even now are probing the universe. Men on a mountain called Cerro Tololo, high in the Andes of Chile. Produced by the Association of Universities for Research in Astronomy, under contract to the National Science Foundation.